are listening to the Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM.
Good morning.
Hey there, good morning. Yes, beautiful morning to you wherever you might be listening from. Morning Express on your super dial, Mainland 98.3 FM, known as the sound of Lagos. Mudukbe Akinyosoye speaking. It's the penultimate day in April, as the month of May actually is surely upon us already. And speaking of May, to quickly just chip this in, something lovely, something fantastic, exciting is definitely coming your way. As you might have been, hearing the advert about our Mainland Kiddies Party. Yippee! I'm so happy about that. So just quickly to remind you that Saturday, May 31st, 2025 this year, of course, in commemoration of getting definitely having special appearance of Mama Rainbow and Mrs. Gloria Young and Noze. So tickets definitely can be obtained at our studios here, Mainland 98.3 FM at number 314 Ikorodu Oshosun Road, Anthony, Lagos, but for just 3,000 naira only. And we'll have a family discount. So yeah, there's going to be a family discount. So we're waiting for you. We're expecting you for us to have fantastic, fun party together at the Mainland Kiddies Party. That being said, welcome to Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM. We are news meets real talk. I will be your host for this morning, Mudukbe Akinyosoye, and we're about to break down the biggest stories, the smartest takes, and the voices you need to hear, all in one place, all here at Mainland 98.3 FM on Trends in the Papers. From global headlines to what's buzzing right here at home, where we're making sense of it all, fast, fresh, and fearless. So just dive in and let's do this together this beautiful morning, as always, just to keep you abreast and to bring you up to speed as regards updates and trends. As to definitely enjoy an audio-visual one, you want to see us, how it's going on in the studio, do well to do that via Facebook and YouTube at Mainland 98.3 FM, and also you can listen via Radio Garden at Mainland 98.3 FM. Just search for Mainland FM, and also on our website www.mainlandfm.com. We'll be joined by Said Fawad, as always. We'll be giving us perspective and analyses to all the stories that we'll be bringing to the table this beautiful morning, which will be bringing to the limelight. Trends in the Papers once again on Mainland 98.3 FM. Good morning, Fawad.
Good morning, Lady Mo. How are you doing?
Doing very well. How are you doing too?
Very good.
Very good. Very, very good. Do you want to tell me something?
Oh, it's just a very quiet morning. The rain, I think it's very cool. The weather looks very nice. Quiet in the city of Lagos. I think the JAM exams have ended. The crowd in schools and JAM centers have gone down.
Right.
So nothing major, just a very quiet morning in the city of Lagos. And that's what I'm seeing out there.
All right, quite uncool. Let's start on that note. That's a good note to start from, actually. Quite uncool. For a while, let's quickly go through the major stories and the stories that have found their way on the front pages of major newspapers. Speaking of the Punch, the Vanguard, the Guardian newspaper this beautiful morning. Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM. You're welcome. In case you're listening for the first time, you're welcome. It's more than a pleasure that we have you on the other side of the radio. Thank you for joining the family. For what? Before the changing of hands in the NMPCL leadership, we were cheering, or we got a cheering news from the former director, CEO of NMPCL, saying that, over decades ago, the refineries that have not been up to stream, they have not been working, and then boom, voila, we have just a private organization or private investor or a private or businessman that had to come up with a private refinery all by himself, of course with the help of whatever it is, but let's just put it that way. And over the years, the refineries that are owned by the country, Nigeria have not really seen the light of the day. Well, before the end of the last tenure of the CEO, Mele Kyari, gave us a news that, well, Port Harcourt refinery, Warri refinery, it's back alive. And then we can a product from crude oil. But this morning, the Punch newspaper is bringing to the fore that NNPCL is under fire as $897 million were refinery Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, particularly regarding transparency. A fish petrochemical company has remained short since January. That's the first month of this year. January 25 document on the midstream and downstream sector obtained from the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority reviewed that a refinery which consumed $897.6 million in maintenance costs failed to produce premium motor spirits, that's petrol, and was shut down barely a month after former NNPCL Group's Chief Executive Officer, Mele Kyari, just as been mentioned, declared it operational. And then, of course, industry operators and experts describe this as very disheartening, while further findings actually show that the Port Harcourt refining company, which resumed operations in November 2024, has been operating even below 40% capacity. Just not to bore us with so much talk, the highlight of this report is just about the fact that the Warri refinery shutdown drags on since January 25, and Port Harcourt refinery struggles at under 40% production capacity. Fuhad, we had our hopes high. We had, the cheering expression that, oh, great. Over the years, the refineries that have not been able to come upstream are now working operational. And then we are getting reports now about the transparency of even officials of NNPCL. There was a visit, a tour to the facility. Yes, to the facility, showing us that, it has come on board and it's operational now and all of that. And now we are getting this. What exactly is the problem, Fuad? And how do we, or do you see, or how do the new management, leadership of the NNPCL do? What exactly is wrong? And moving forward, what should be done?
Well, I don't know what is wrong. I don't know what the problem is. But at least I know the fact that there has never been married. I also know that we have been fed with lies, make cheap points, make the airlines get Nigerians excited, pretend to Nigerians that we're actually achieving something with our refinery. Now the reports, according to the country newspaper, is telling us, maybe more like you just also read out, that look, the Warri refinery that cost us close to $1 billion was over $800 million will be summed up into at $1 billion. God knows some other calculations that might not have come into it. Oh, we saw it. They did a tour. It's now back to life. Government officials celebrated it. NNPCL celebrated it. Of course, supporters of government that will not allow us probe into some of this information. Counted it as some of the achievements of this government. Over 2 decades, these refineries have not been working. Now they are working. And while we were trying to check and recheck, question some of these things because of our antecedents as a people, they said, no, you guys don't just want to always, anytime it's good news about the country, you are not active. You are enemies of the nation. Now the report is that, we got the report as at January 25 that they were going to be shutting down the Warri refinery for safety concerns and then for maintenance concerns. Like, how do you open up a new refinery? And then suddenly you are shutting it down just after a month for maintenance purposes. And since January 25, it has been like that. Nothing has happened there practically. In Port Harcourt, I remember when last year, towards the end of last year, I think it was in December, when it was also said, it's not working blah, 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 even though they are told us that it was working at 70% capacity. Now the report is telling us that no, it's even operating less than 40% capacity. So we ask ourselves, who was deceiving who? What was the essence of the whole drama, the TV show, the video show? These things are working now. Get people unnecessarily excited. I look at, we keep asking again. Anytime we talk about Dangote refinery, I always ask the question, what exactly is petroleum product? If Dangote is already refining, you have told us what Harcourt is refining. You said Warri was back to life. Why are we now investing more? Because the figures are even showing that at this time, we were supposed to be consolidating on our capacity to refine locally. That's when we are even improving and increasing our capacity to import petroleum products into the country. So, like I said, what the problem is, I may not know. It may be difficult to know. But at least there's one thing that we know. What we know is that the NNPCL has been run on lies and propaganda. Deceit. You will see now that with this report now, somebody is going to wake up tomorrow to issue a press statement from the NNPCL, debunking it, probably insulting the report and saying, no, it's all. But then in Port Harcourt, for example, what is the daily production? What are you producing? Is this zone? Are you trying to produce PMS? What are the timelines? You have a refinery that cannot produce PMS. What kind of refinery is that? It's not a modular refinery. So by the time you aggregate all of these things, like I said, it just brings you to the conclusion that, look, there's still a lot of deceit lie in the management of the Nigerian oil sector. It's to bring out one that, our newspapers and journalists are probing into these things. People that want to blame you for not probing into these things. And when you try to probe deeply into some of these stories, they tell you are enemy of the country. Forgetting that the job of the media is not to make the government happy, but to keep them on their toes as the fourth estate of the realm. So as it is, the information is there for Nigerians to see. It's again a call on us to begin to think about these things. How well is the government giving us the right information about some of these things? Because if you ask Bayo Onanuga today, the story we are getting about those two facilities, the new man, Mr. Ojulari, for the NNPCL and our refinery. And that is why there are people who are calling on the government to probe the era of military. Billions of dollars, were spent on revamping this refinery after several failed timelines. And we cannot, for example, the Warri refinery cannot be gulping over $800 million. And the story we are hearing that it has been shut again because of safety concerns. And since then, nothing has happened at that facility. Where did the monies go? Who were the contractors that handled the project? What were the timelines? Why are these facilities not working optimally? Was the money put into this refinery for it to be working at 40% or 20% or at no percent? These are the questions.
Definitely, Fuad. What is more concerning is how an individual, a businessman, can, solely build a 650,000 capacity refinery, and over the years, a whole government of a whole country, the giant of Africa, so to say, cannot.
It's not to build from the scratch. Those refineries were existing. Just get them back to work.
Operational. Of course, it has been moribund. It has been at that state for over many years. The question, what the problem really is where we don't know. But well, that very story is on page 49. We'll see how it unfolds, and we'll see how we can solve that issue from our fuel sector. Away from that, quickly, let's go political. The Punch newspaper still this beautiful morning with the biggest conversation or debate that has been going on from last week about more governors would join APC, Ganduje boasting, and of course with the phony term called Hurricane Tinubu. The APC, that's the Vice President, Kashim Shettima, on Monday, that's yesterday, officially received Delta State Governor Sheriff Oborevwori, former Governor Ifeanyi Okowa, and other PDP defectors at the cenotaph in Asaba, the Delta State capital, with the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Umar, stating that more governors would even still join the ruling party. And of course, the storm had been long speculated before the dramatic defection of the PDP's former vice presidential candidate, Okowa, Governor Oborevwori, and the entire PDP party structure in Delta, one of the former ruling party's strongholds. And according to Delta Deputy Governor Monday Oyeme, states Commissioners, local government chairmen, the state grassroots machinery all definitely moved en bloc to the APC after a closed-door meeting in Asaba last week following Hurricane Tinubu, which had swept the PDP apart, with the opposition claiming the country was drifting towards a one-party state. And I was listening to the conversation on this defection issue with the Minister of Aviation, speaking about the fact that PDP having a strong hold of Delta State, and then we're having the structure collapsing to the ruling party, and the fact that, well, they believe in, the governor believes in governance, progressive administration. And what is your reaction to this particular? And of course, the aviation minister also handed over the APC leadership to the governor of ᴜᴜᴜ after defecting to the APC in the state, and so birds a lot.
There's already a shocking leak, I'm sure, by the leadership of the APC, and this is not the first time that the chairman of the party, Mᴏᴜ Ganduje, has told or said was that, look, at the time he was addressing journalists when they visited Buhari the last time, said they had 21 governors. Now with Governor Sheriff Ugboro, they now have 22. And at that time he had said that, look, that will defeat them at the polls or by themselves, they would decamp and join the APC. So definitely, in a matter of days or weeks, I think we're going to see more defection. Like I said, if I was going to make some more predictions, I might be wrong, but if you look at all the indices, one can safely conclude they defected. We already been saying that this man, anytime you see him in PDP meet, when it happened, some of us were never surprised. The only one that probably surprised me a bit was them yesterday in Delta State Asaba. When the leadership of the APC was receiving them. And I listened to what they were saying, both Okowa and Governor ᴜᴜᴜ. I just shake my head. And what keeps coming to my mind was that, look, these people don't rate the people at all. They see us as nothing. They say these things are, because, in their own political calculation, the people don't matter. They know how to deal with the people. They understand the psyche of the people. And so they just fill these things out, and they know the people will take it. It doesn't matter who are they. You will say what you want to say, we'll still do what you want to do. So more governors are definitely going to defect. Some of them will shock us. If Governor Fubara, with all the backbones and the intimidation that he has received, if he defects today, I'm sure a lot of us will not be surprised. If the governor of Enugu State, that would be a bit of a surprise, but we are getting the feelers that it's also most likely going to defect.
For just few minutes.
That's the information we're getting.
Yes, just few minutes. I have a soundbite from Ifeanyi Okowa, the predecessor here, and also the governor, the statement during the rally, during the defection party yesterday. Just let's take a listen quickly. We'll be back shortly. Stay with us.
It's a great day for us in Delta State. When the news broke out on Wednesday, the 23rd of April, 2025, that we have decided to change our path, people wondered why. But one thing is very important. In the history of a people, there is always a time to change their path for the common good of the people. And whatever decision that we took was based on that common good and the need to change our path in the best interest of our state. As I did tell people that day, it was not about me. It was not about the governor. But the fact that there is a need for us to connect to Abuja. That goodwill that is in Abuja, that resource that is in Abuja, of which Delta State is a large contributor, there was a need to connect to it. I was governor for 8 years. I was in opposition. I did my best, but we lost a lot. And I did not believe that the governor needed to stay, working very hard. And we know that we are very supportive of Governor Sheriff because he's doing a lot. But as the governor is doing a lot for us, he also needs to connect to the greater source of power and resource and goodwill in Abuja. And when we sat down after stakeholders meeting, we thought that it was necessary to make this move. This move is bold, it is patriotic, and it is well-intentioned.
Other governors will join. It's a movement. It's a movement. It's a movement. And when you have a movement, you don't fail. And I want to assure our chairman, national chairman, because there are some things people say in newspaper, there's confusion, there's a faction. As I have come, there will no more faction again.
Confirm.
Because let me tell you, APC is not like PDP. Let me tell you, the governor takes charge.
Yes.
And we are taking charge.
Yes.
Is it not true? Whether the faction of ᴏᴜᴜᴜ, whether the faction of Fᴜဃᴜᴜ, I don't believe in any faction.
Yes.
Everybody must queue.
Yes.
Everybody must queue.
Yes.
And we unite this state.
Yes.
This state for and it will bring development, it will bring peace, it will bring unity in Delta State and in other governors will join.
Yeah, that the latter voice you heard was that of the governor of Delta State,
Rich. Oh my goodness. Our politicians, they are wonderful people. Like I told you just a few minutes ago, they don't rate us with political sense. We will not discuss too much of morality. So that people don't say, oh, let's even just cut them some slack. Let's try and see whether there's sense in what they are saying. Because again, there's a lot that comes to mind listening to those sound bites. I watched the entire rally yesterday, and I just shake my head. For example, the former governor, Ifeanyi Okowa, was talking about aligning with the center. That he was governor for 8 years. He did his best. But because he was not aligned to the center, he was not able to achieve much. And that, look, Delta State controls a lot of resources contributed to the center. And so that resource and the goodies at the center is the reason why they are aligned. Lady Mo, the same President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who has been able to play his politics well since 1990. Many years he remained in the opposition and kept Lagos in the opposition until 2015. So don't you see that these people are politically useless? And that's why they may never go far with their politics. You don't understand? The same President Bola Ahmed Tinubu that they are all running to. How would he have been able to achieve what he achieved today to becoming the president? If at that time too, he ran away as opposition and joined the center. Why did he keep himself in the opposition? And at that time, you think he got it easy with the ruling party? Did you know the things Obasanjo, for example, did to him? Even during Jonathan, how he was dragged to the CTC court, talked, harassed, intimidated. That is a man that understands his politics. That is a man that has a political vision. But look at this one. It's about aligning with the center. Which center? You don't understand what I'm saying. The same man they are all running to meet at the center remained in the opposition for years, kept his political structure intact, kept Lagos State in the opposition for years.
Oh, mine. All right, we'll definitely get forward back online. Still mainland trends in the papers on mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos, and we are perusing the pages of newspapers this morning. At the Punch newspaper, we are, to be precise. Okay, Fuad, we have you back.
Yes.
All right.
So sorry. The lie had to cut because it's a sad story to talk about.
Oh, is the hot? Oh my goodness, the hotness of the story.
So these ones now cannot sustain opposition politics. They have to run. And that's why, quote and unquote, I have come to the conclusion that these guys are politically useless. And that's why you see that at the end of the day, they would drop who kept his political structure intact. He had the option. Don't you think at that time too, President Tinubu could have defected to the PDP now, join them? Why would I remain in the opposition?
Mm.
But look at the story today. They are now all running to meeting, forgetting that, look, what they are doing is to continue to strengthen the political structure, the political base, the political aspiration of the president. And whether you like it or not, they will always remain outsiders in the APC. Forget about the story. It's a temporary thing. They will soon realize that, look, they will remain outsiders within the fold of the APC without any serious reckoning going forward. The other one is this. Governor Ifeanyi Okowa, former Governor Okowa, I will still talk about Mr. Sheriff, Governor Sheriff. Mm. He would also still understand that there are limitations when you are an outsider. He's talking about, the PDP, the Delta State need to align with the center. These guys have continually run Delta State aground until this time that they are jumped until 2015. As Delta State not always been aligned to the center. For 16 years of the PDP, Lady Mo, Delta was PDP. What advantage did that aligning with the center give to Delta State? From Ibori to Woodwa to himself Okowa and now the governor. These are guys that in a functional society, the EFCC should be not. Look at Ibori, for example. Simply, in the UK before he returned home. And as we speak, the same man is still like the political mafia coordinating things in Delta State. I've spoken with a lot of Delta, and all of them may be listening to me this morning. That's one of the worst run states in the Niger Delta, despite all the resources that is available to all of these governors. So suddenly, the future of Delta, the prosperity of Delta, the progress of Delta, and that's a man that has a case with the EFCC of over 1 trillion naira mystery.
Well,
so like we've always told people, politicians will present their personal interest as if it is the interest and for the common good of the people. Today now, he said it's not about him. Ifeanyi Okowa is telling Delta people that his defection to the APC is not about himself, but for the progress of Delta State. Hey, yeah, wonderful.
All right, Fuad. Because of our time, that
I will not bother with the governor.
Morning. Away from that, still with the Punch newspaper, just quickly. In 2022, a man, Nwachukwu, was arraigned on June 3, 2022, facing a 23-count charge filed by the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation. And the charges that were leveled against him included culpable homicide, spousal battery, cruelty to children, and criminal intimidation, which happens to be the husband of late gospel singer Osinachi Nwachukwu. So continue to rest in perfect peace. Peter Nwachukwu has now been sentenced to death after 3 years now by hanging by the Federal Capital Territory High Court sitting in Abuja, Wuse Zone 2 to be precise. And the judgment was delivered yesterday after dismissing Nwachukwu's no case submission. That, of course, the court found him guilty of culpable homicide in connection with the death of his wife on April 8, 2022. And while some had welcomed with good hands that good for him, I mean, good judgment, some also had raised the issue of, the fate of the children and moving forward. Before
to speak from this particular case, the first one is to our women. Once you get into a marriage, again, they're always telling signs to maybe more. Because I don't think we have seen some of these signs, but sometimes live in denial about it. People stress and trauma.
But for
unless maybe there was not.
Yes. Do you know there are some cases that they think that that's the way to go? I've had encounter with a conversation where they were separating a boyfriend and a girlfriend. They had that he's been a man beating her, you know. And
that she likes it.
Yes, that it's been a man that she likes. And then it beckons the fact that maybe, you know, there's some, you know, environment that you grow up that you believe that. Now, I remember the interview, you need to be abusive.
He even said sometimes when he beats the children, he records them and watch the video later. I think there's something wrong somewhere. You know, in this part of the world, until you remove your clothes and you begin to walk the market or street naked,
right,
we always think that people are normal. We don't take mental health issues seriously. There are people who have serious mental health challenges,
right,
who may not be in the market or roaming the street naked, but their behavioral pattern consistently shows that these are not normal human beings. But we wave it aside. So for me, so many lessons. The first one is women. When it starts to get to the point of battery, physical assault, emotional assault, you single mother, so be it. But you have to be out. Look at the fate of the children now. You have to say, no matter what anybody says now about how to take care of the children, it's only God that can help. So it is better to be out of that marriage, to be out of this world, and see your children suffer. Because at the end of the day, the children at the end of the day will still suffer. There's no body, I always say, that can take care of a child like the mother or the father, the responsible ones. So the other one is the issue of mental health issues. Do we take it seriously here when we begin to see strange patterns and behavior from people? How well do we take care of it? And then the last part is it's not. You see, we have a societal issue: pressure. So you see women just taking some very drastic, ridiculous decisions because again they bow down to public blame with her. But she comes out, singing, making people happy, beaming with smile always, whereas she was already dying. And that's why you can see that the sentencing majorly is about culpable homicide. So it's a lesson for all of us, especially for our women. They are in an abusive marriage. It is better to be out of the marriage than to lose your life and make your children suffer needless.
All right, that very story on page 4 and 5 in the Punch newspaper. From The Guardian, also, we have that on the front page. Page 9 captures that in the Guardian newspaper, that same story. Trends in the papers it is on Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. We are going through several stories that have found their way on the front pages and are major for discussion this beautiful morning. Join us on Facebook and YouTube at Mainland 98.3 FM and also on Radio Guardian and our website www.mainlandfm.com. Picking up The Guardian, worsening energy cost crisis. Nigeria needs to brace up, according to the report, for about 150% rise in the cost of solar installations, the slowdown in the energy transition, and an increase in electricity challenges as the federal government finalizing plans to ban the importation of solar panels. And this could worsen the already high energy poverty and increase the cost of doing business as an increasing number of small businesses switch to renewables to reduce the cost of energy consumption. And of course, with planned solar panel assembly plants of about 1,531 megawatts in Lagos, Enugu, Nasarawa, and other locations, Shell-backed some companies actually are on track to take control of the market, raising fears of the possible emergence of a cartel. And stakeholders have actually warned that the government to drop the importation control plan, especially at a time when it is unable to provide electricity through the national grid, and insisting that the hope that state governments and individuals would leverage off-grid solutions will remain elusive. Fouad, do you agree with that over the years? And people most times nowadays resolve to solar energy and renewable means. What effect do you think this would have if we have this, ban?
Lady Mo, it will have no effect than to also just make the people poor and reduce the capacity of the people to help themselves with alternative sources of energy. Why do they want to ban importation of solar panels? The government is not able. They are looking at alternatives. And the alternatives has now become, people going into solar panels and all of that. Suddenly, there's an initiative by some people now to start to produce solar panels in the country. And so because of the interest of those people now, they want to ban the importation. That has made it, and it's relatively cheaper for the people. You don't understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Provide electricity for the people. The government has not been able to do it. Now, people have been looking at alternatives. And one of them has been the solar panels, the solar energy arrangement. With the issue of forex, it's not cheap. I must tell you. Immediately they banned the importation of these solar panels in the name of trying to use 3-4 million. Maybe for a 3-bedroom, for a 2.5 kVA solar panel. Around importation of rice because we can plant it locally. The local rice now we have not been able to do. And the thing, you understand what I'm saying? If we are so intended on banning solar panels, ban the importation of refined petroleum products too. I mean, at least that one we already have capacity to produce what we need locally. So one solar panel, but I can tell you that there are some vested interests. I'm sure there are people who already come up with all manner of plans to start to produce those things. If you know you have the capacity, leave the people that are bringing it to the country, produce your own locally to compete. Let us see. Because at the end of the day now, the alternative that people are also using now, you want to make it difficult for the people. The electricity from government you cannot provide. Those ones are useless. As anything you can describe that is useless. Now solar panels that people are using to help themselves, you want to ban it in the name of producing it locally, and you now make it extremely difficult and expensive for people again. Ḥɔ́fɛ́.
All right.
Because once they begin to meet this kind of, when they begin to talk about this thing, they're already planned to do it.
Of course.
We saw the rice pyramid they showed to us before. Where is the rice pyramid now? Somebody will come up and say that, oh, we have the capacity to produce our own solar panels. It's about buying Nigeria. It's about improving our own local capacity. It's all lies. It will never work. It will only make the thing expensive and will create some form of useless monopoly locally.
All right, just quickly to be clear and verify and correct the notion, that very story was an headline on the Guardian newspaper yesterday, and still in our report, actually. Away from that, still with the Guardian newspaper, JAMB and Peter Obi bicker over early exam schedules. Now, the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board, JAMB, has responded to criticism by former presidential candidates of the Labour Party in the 2023 general elections that Peter Obi over the early resumption time for a 25 tertiary matriculation examination. And Obi had earlier, in a post on X, on Sunday, decried reports of candidates, mostly teenagers, being allegedly asked to travel to examination centers as early as 6:30 a.m. despite security concern. And he described the situation as reckless and citing incidences of accidents and missing candidates, and even blamed it on what he called Nigeria's inadequate investments in education. And according to Obi, setting examinations for vulnerable teenagers at such early hours is endangering lives and exposing deeper systemic failures in the country's education system. And of course, reacting to this yesterday, JAMB had to clarify that while candidates are expected to arrive by 6:30 a.m. for verification and clearance, the examination officially begins at 8 a.m. and not 6:30 a.m., which have been in circulation. While some are saying that was just the damage control, that they are just coming out, because even parents, we had cases of parents and guardians, had to travel or had to so that they could meet up the 6:30 a.m. and all of that. But JAMB is saying that, well, it's for verification. We are not saying that the exam will start 8 a.m. That verification would start. Of course, if your exam starts 8 a.m., then at least you should be there 31 minutes before that. But they are saying that, well, we didn't say that exam is 6:30 a.m. Forward.
Okay, you'll be the one to analyze it, and I'll tell you why I want to. And I want you to just look at the whole thing before I just tell you what I want to tell you. What is Mr. Peter big thing? That look, there's a problem with this arrangement of JAMB that requires candidates, a lot of them led by their parents or by themselves, teenagers, very young children, having to leave home very early because they need to get to JAMB centers by 6:30 a.m. Security concern. Anybody that has to work very early in different parts of Lagos, they tell you that, look, leaving home 5 a.m., 5:30, 6 a.m., you have to be very circumspect. You have to be very watchful because of the electric because of security concerns. And I think that's a valid call to make. Basically, taking that kind of feedback and checking and rechecking whether there's something that can be done. But look at their response. Oh, no, the exam does not start by 6:30 a.m. It starts by 8 a.m. But verification starts by 6:30 a.m. Can you write the exam without verification? Does that reply make any sense? The man says, whether the exam starts at 6 a.m. or not, those that have been scheduled to start verification by 6:30 a.m. have to get there by 6:30 a.m. Is it about the exam or the fact that you have to be available at that time? You don't understand what I'm saying?
I do.
So the idea of verification is only verification that starts at 6:30 a.m. The exam is starts by 8 a.m. How does it make any sense? How is that a common sensical response to what Mr. B is saying?
The father said that just to prevent late coming.
You don't understand what I'm saying. The issue could have been that, okay, all verifications will start by 8. Exams will start by 10. Or in the mind of the people in JAM responding now, they already see Peter B as, they see that statement as political. You don't understand you don't seem to get what I'm saying. The guy is saying that students having to get to center by 6:30 a.m. That's security. How does that make any sense? Can you write an exam without verification?
Of course not.
Well, let's move to another story.
All right, that still trends in the papers. Just quickly take this very story before we call it morning on trends in the papers. Adamawa Council boss laments as Boko Haram kills 10 in fresh attack, which have been clamoring for stop in killings, taking up steps to end killing in even all parts of the country. Now, the chairman of Hong local council in Adamawa State, Usman Wanganda, has expressed anguish following yet another deadly attack by Boko Haram insurgents in Kokpre village, where at least 10 hunters and members of the civilian Joint Task Force, JTF, were killed on Saturday. And the fresh attack occurred around 4 p.m. April 26, 2025, seeing armed insurgents storm the border community on motorcycles, overpowering local defenders with repeated assaults. Fuad, yet again.
Well, it's a wake-up call to the government. The governor of Borno State already told us that Boko Haram is becoming a big threat again to us as a people, and we need to pay attention. You know, there are people who are dismissing it. They think it was just political. Oh, maybe the governor of Borno State is not happy with some things with the government, as I said it. He said that, look, there are even communities. He mentioned about how many communities that Boko Haram insurgents are already taking over in Borno State, and it's time for the government to pay attention to it. Now, this is not even Borno State. It's a report from Adamawa State, although still from the northeastern part of the country. But is it not a wake-up call for the government? Before we go to the Jonathan era again, where Boko Haram begins to take territory.
All right, that very story in The Guardian as well. Just quickly to take a couple of the headlines, other headlines we have on the front page of The Punch. We have from Archbishop saying from page 7 of The Punch, Papal elections guarded by Holy Spirit and not politics. That's on page 7. And also diaspora voting, INEC pushes for constitutional amendment. Page 56 captures that very story. Tension among Sonia 57 as that. Massive power outage ground trains, internet in Spain, Portugal, France. That on page 7. In page 57, I beg your pardon, in the Punch newspaper. And also on alleged fraud, court orders business dollars fraud, suspected CBEX promoter surrenders to EFCC. That's on page 3 in the Guardian newspaper. Ohaneze urges Tinubu to accept peace move by pro-Biafra agitators. That page 29 captures that very story. And over the Jam Peter Obi bickering, page 5 captures that in the Guardian newspaper. And also we have the same headline here saying that court orders Aisha Achimugu to honor AFCC's invitation. Page 5 captures that in the Guardian newspaper. And just quickly on institution fees, 51 varsities and others embroiled in illegal deductions from student loan. That you also get on page 6 in the Guardian. Fuad, thank you very much for your time this morning. We'll come back for Mainland Focus. Thank you so much for your time. And of course, still Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. I remain more.